Hi, welcome to your first video in Alice. You're going to see this icon a lot at the bottom of the screen, and it is obviously a picture of Alice in Wonderland because the program was named in honor of Lewis Carroll, who was a mathematician, and he of course wrote Alice in Wonderland. So there you have it. So what is it? Well, it's just a programming tool that's super cool. It's got 3D graphics, it's got models of objects, and I'll show you in a second how to find those. You can make an animation, you can make a video game, a movie, you have a virtual world because obviously this is not reality, but you can make it look pretty good. It's not too bad. Your first step is, and we should have talked about this in class, is you need to download version 2.3 from the web. You just go to this web address and there are further instructions on Haiku. So before you do anything else, after you watch this video, go ahead and download it. So there are two kinds of animations. I'm going to show you the first one. Okay, so this is what the octopus movie looks like in Alice, and if I hit play, a little screen comes up and it's actually super cool. You can see this little carousel go, and there's a whole bunch behind this. But you'll notice I'm not doing anything. I just pressed play and I'm admiring its fabulousness. There's another type, and I'll get that for you in just a second. Okay, so here's the second type, and this one, if I hit play, you're going to see that the ice skater says something. Press space to spin, W to wink. So I'm pressing the space bar and there she spins, and if I do W, it's kind of creepy, but she winks. But you'll see the difference was that not only did I have to press play, I had to press other things as well. So the two types of animations we had were a movie and an interactive. The movie was the first one, the octopus. I was just a passive user. I watched it. Nothing real, I mean, lots happened, but once I pressed play, I had no other jobs. When it's interactive, that's when the user, that's you, clicks on a mouse, clicks on a key, does something, and creates these events, which we will talk about in greater detail, and that was exemplified by the Skater movie. So the way that you do this is you start out by just creating a new world. You go to File, New, and you'll get these 6 templates to choose from right here. If you go to open a world and it says a new world, you can create it that way. And you'd think this would be really limiting, but honestly it's not. You can do a whole bunch of things with this. So go ahead and pause the movie and open Alice, which hopefully you've downloaded, and go ahead and choose a template. Okay, so now that you're back, this is how you add an object. And if you haven't done the template yet, go back, pause, go back, do the template, and come back to this. All right, to add an object, you'll see there's this little green button at the bottom of your template. You click Add Objects, and a whole bunch of options show up. Right now, you're just seeing a screenshot of the first one. You can have all these different folders. One of the folders you might use is Animals. If you open Animals, like I said, a whole bunch of things show up, and you might have a bird, and so you literally just click and drag on it, and it'll show up. And then you can do all sorts of things to it and position it accordingly. These are some words you're going to see, and I want you to get familiar with them. And at the end of this movie, I'd like you to go play with the mouse, the camera navigation, the drop-down menu, and the quad view. The mouse is used to help position objects in the scene so that they're not all on top of each other. Camera navigation, that's pretty cool. You can change the camera point of view, so you could be looking at the bird, for example, from the front, from the side, from above. You have a lot to play with. There are a whole bunch of methods that come with each object that you put into the program, and they could do things like help resize the objects. They can help you position it as well. And then quad view is to help really locate where that thing is. If you have two birds and you want them to be exactly in the same horizontal plane, you can use quad view to make that happen. So what is an object? Well, it's anything that can be identified as unique from other things. So even if you have two birds, the program won't just say bird and bird. One of them will be called bird, the other one will be called bird2. It has a name, just like I said. It's going to have properties. Now the properties might match each other, or you could change them. You could make your one bird a little bit different from another. The kind of properties we talk about, as it says, width, height, color, location, and every object can perform some actions, and we call these actions methods. The methods are just things that the bird or your object could do, and tasks it can carry out. We'll get into that in a lot more detail. So A lot of the objects, I would say the vast majority of the objects, have parts. So for example, a bird has a body, a right leg, a left leg, and if you notice there's a little plus sign right here, that means that the body has more to it than just a body, and same thing with the right leg and the left leg. And if you click on them, you would get more detail. The left leg would maybe have a foot or something like that. So all of these objects are really 3D. They look 2D because obviously you're looking at a screen, but they really are 3D in that they have 3 different dimensions: height, this way, width, this way, and depth, which goes into the picture. So we talk about the 6 degrees of freedom, which are the 6 degrees of movement. So it could go up or down, it could go right or left, it could go backward or forward, or it can go some combination of these. So you can imagine if I said to go up and right and back, it would start to head sort of in that general direction. The center of an object is pretty important because when we talk about rolling and turning, you want to know where that center is. And unlike in physics, it's not immediately obvious where the center is. It could be the center of mass, just like the bird, and that would match physics, or it could be where it stands on the ground, or it could be where it's held. And that's really object dependent, which means it's going to be defined by whoever created it, and that will not be us. We're just going to be the users of the objects. So you're going to see the word class, and you're going to hear about instances of class. So a class is a way of categorizing your objects. So the examples you see here are Peter, Paul, and Mary all could be qualified as persons. So they would be in the person class. If you were adding objects to your template, to your program, you would have a folder called person, and you might see someone named Peter, someone named Paul, someone named Mary, and you can experiment with that. You might see a folder that says dogs, and maybe in the dogs you might have a Spike or a Scotty or a Fluffy. But each of these, we say it's an instance of the class. We have instantiated the class. And it's okay that you don't know this right now or don't really get it. Maybe you do, but if you don't, that's fine. We're going to be talking about this in great detail, just to give you some flavor. How come Peter, Paul, and Mary are in a class but Spike is not in that class? That's because Peter, Paul, and Mary all have something in common that Spike does not. Yes, Spike also has something else in common with them, but that's not the way we're going to organize it. So it's just a matter of organization. You look at your objects, you say, what do they have in common? Okay, they are in a class. And good news, you don't really need to decide this. This has been decided for you by the designers of the objects, but just something to think about, especially if you go into further programming. So where do you find them? Well, you have 3 choices. The CD gallery is only going to work if the CD is in the machine. You got a CD with your book. What we're mostly going to be using is the local gallery, and this gets downloaded with the program. So if you're at school and you're using a school program, Alice 2.3 has been downloaded onto all of those, and it has a local gallery and has a bunch of options. But if you don't see what you're looking for, give it a shot. Go online to the web gallery, again at www.alice.org, or look on the CD. But really, I think the local gallery should give you what you want. And the most important thing is, how do you save your work? That's called saving a world, because you don't want to lose your work. If something crashes, or you get a bug, or you get what we call the screen of death, where it just says a bug has occurred and basically stinks to be you. You don't want that. So what you want to do is you want to be saving every 15 minutes or at least every half hour. I would recommend every 15 minutes or even sooner. All you have to do is save, you're good to go. It saves to a backup system as well. You'll get a backup. But whatever you do, save your work, save your work, save your work, because you're going to be so sad if you lose your program. And that's it. All right, go play with Alice and see you in class.